Welcome, everyone, to the Candidates Forum for the Monroe County Court of Common Pleas. I'm your moderator, George Roberts, and tonight's forum is brought to you by the Pocono Chamber of Commerce, and we're coming to you live from East Stroudsburg University. We have 5 candidates cross-filed for a judge's seat in Monroe County. There are 2 positions open in the county court. Judges of the Common Pleas courts are elected to 10-year terms. Democrats and Republicans will choose 2 on their ballots for the May 20th primary. Now let's get started by meeting the candidates. First, we have Patrick Best from Stroud Township, Janet Jackson from Stroudsburg Borough, Jamie Levy from Delaware Water Gap Borough, Kelly Lombardo from Jackson Township, and Alexander Merrick from Hamilton Township. Now, tonight's forum will consist of opening and closing statements of 1 minute each, and the questions are also allotted 1-minute answers. A timekeeper will let the candidates know when the time is up. We're going to start now with our opening statements. And to start, Patrick Best.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you to the Pocono Chamber, East Stroudsburg University, Blue Ridge Cable, TV 13 for hosting tonight's forum. I'm Patrick Best, and I'm running for Judge of the Court of Common Pleas. I want to begin by thanking my family, my supporters, and all of you watching, both in the audience and on TV. As Special Assistant District Attorney, I have fought against fraud and abuse in the county. I've protected the Commonwealth, I've protected the county, and its residents. As a court hearing officer, I presided over hundreds of court proceedings. As a practicing attorney, I've spent my career fighting for justice, in and out of the courtroom. I have never stopped fighting for Monroe County, and I never will. This race isn't about politics. It's about trust, fairness, and experience. On May 20th, you'll have the chance to vote for 2 candidates for judge. I hope that tonight I will earn one of your votes.
Good evening.
Good.
I'm Janet Jackson. I've worked as a lawyer in Stroudsburg for more than 35 years. I've been a trial lawyer. I've been in a courtroom as a lawyer every day, almost every day of my career. I came to Monroe County after a 1-year clerkship in Wilkes-Barre with a federal magistrate, and I've been here ever since. There's a lot at stake in this election. These are 10-year terms, and if a person is elected, they could be retained for their entire career until they retire. These are important decisions because the Court of Common Pleas makes every decision that's important in our citizenry's lives. Whether it's a decision about whether a grandparent is going to maintain custody of a grandchild or get to have visitation with a grandchild.
Thank you. Next, Jamie Levy.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Pocono Chamber of Commerce, and thank you, Blue Ridge, Channel 13. I'm Jamie Levy, and I'm running to be a judge on the Court of Common Pleas. For the better part of the last 25 years, I've been inside of a courtroom as a civil litigator and a trial attorney. Most recently, I was elected Magisterial District Judge, serving East Stroudsburg and Delaware Water Gap. My experience as a district judge has prepared me to become a judge on the Court of Common Pleas. I'm running to be a judge on the Court of Common Pleas to better serve my community. In terms of my community service, I'm deeply committed to the community. I'm a volunteer firefighter, volunteer EMT, I'm a Rotarian, I'm one of the founding members of the Mountaineer Foundation. I'm deeply invested in this community as the proud father of 3 amazing kids. My name is Jamie Levy, and I'm running to be a judge on the Court of Common Pleas. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kelly Lombardo.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Lombardo. Monroe County is not just where I live, it's where my story began and where I have continued to live and practice for the last 42 years. And I have a unique perspective in that I'm born and raised here, and I've seen how this county has changed and grown over time, and I know what's important to us and what we need. I am a dedicated attorney for the last 16 years, but I'm more than that. I am a mother and I'm a wife. My husband is a dedicated police sergeant, and we're raising our 2 children to share the same values that we do: respect, integrity, giving back to our community. And those are the things that I want to instill in us in our future. I am running for the judge of the Court of Common Pleas because I believe a judge should have integrity and have experience, but also some compassion. And those are qualities that I am confident that I will bring to the bench. I'm Kelly Lombardo, and I'm running for the judge of the Court of Common Pleas. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Alexander Merrick.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alex Merrick, and a little bit about me, I guess. I'm a former police officer, detective, federal criminal investigator. I'm married to my wonderful wife, Kristen, be for 16 years as of tomorrow. We have 3 wonderful kids that we're raising here in Monroe County. I've been a practicing attorney for just under 18 years now, and mostly in criminal law and civil litigation now, as most recently with Newman Williams. I pretty much dedicated my entire career to service, whether it's protecting as a law enforcement officer, working as an assistant district attorney, which promoted to a deputy district attorney, chief of the appellate unit, and now as a candidate for judge. And as the other candidate said,
Time.
it's about care.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for the opening statements. Now we're going to present some questions. We hope through these questions we'll have a better idea of who you are and what you believe. And our questions have been submitted by Pocono Chamber of Commerce members and the TV 13 News staff. Our first subject will be on judicial philosophy. And we'll start with Patrick Best. Patrick, can you explain your judicial philosophy in plain terms?
Sure. When I look at cases, as I mentioned, I was a hearing officer for over 9 years. It really just comes down to looking at the facts, making sure you understand the word of the law, and applying the facts to the word of the law as it is written. It's really that simple. Take the facts, we apply it to the word of law as written, and we yield a fair and just result.
Okay, thank you. Janet, same question.
Chief Justice Roberts once said that being a judge is most comparable to being an umpire. You may have been used to being the person who hit the ball out of the park, or who made the great catch, or who made the team win the World Series. But when you become a judge, you step back from that role and you become the umpire. You become the person who's ruling on evidence, making determinations as to lengths of sentences. There's an entire array of tasks that a trial judge must do. And I'm ready to do those because I've been in the game, and I'm ready to stop playing the game and be the umpire. What you don't want is an umpire who's never been to a baseball game. I've been to the game, and I'm ready to do this job.
Thank you. Jamie, same question.
Judicial philosophy?
Your judicial philosophy, yes.
My judicial philosophy is proven as a district court judge. I'm tough but fair, compassionate but respectful. I'm courteous, and I give everyone a fair opportunity to be heard. And I think that would sum up my judicial philosophy. Fair, tough, compassionate.
Okay, thank you. Kelly, again, the question is, can you explain your judicial philosophy in plain terms?
Thank you. From day one, my campaign slogan, or my judicial philosophy, has been integrity, experience, and compassion. You must elect a judge that you have faith in, that you share common values. And so integrity is someone who is trustworthy and who is going to follow the law as it's written and not be a politician behind the bench. I am fair, and I can be impartial. Experience is someone who has seen the law from all sides of the bench, and I'm sure we'll get to the question about my experience, but I've been a law clerk, I've been a standing prosecutor, and I've been an elder law attorney in the civil field. And compassion. I'm a mother. Yes, I was a prosecutor, and I can be tough, but I also realize people come to court because something is happening in their lives where they are upset or they need help. And so you need to be able to listen to people and to make sure that they know that they are heard. And then that integrity kicks in where you apply the law to their case. So integrity, experience, and compassion.
Thank you. And Alex, judicial philosophy.
I get to kind of follow Kelly here with the same aspect of it, where using exactly what we've been preaching in our campaign about the honesty and the integrity and the fairness in approaching every case and listening very carefully and with impartial ears and just weighing the evidence and that this can be presented by these parties. You got to take into consideration everybody comes from different places, has a different perspective into when they're bringing their case in front of you, and using what you have knowledge with the law, following that precisely, applying what you're hearing in front of you impartially and objectively, and bringing fairness and a just effect to the result.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to our next question. Janet, you'll be answering this question first. And the topic is impartiality. How will you ensure fairness and impartiality in your courtroom, free from political or personal biases?
Well, I've been pretty consistent since the beginning of my campaign that this is not a political campaign. It is, in fact, a job interview. I'm being interviewed for the job of Court of Common Pleas of Monroe County, and impartiality is the bedrock of this branch of government. We've seen money become a big influence in judicial races across the country. We should be concerned about that kind of money because impartiality is key to what this branch of government is responsible for. I will not be asking anyone when they come into my court the question that I've been asked most often on this trail, which is, are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? You're a citizen of Monroe County. You're a person with feelings and thoughts, and you will be heard, and I will be patient, and I will make fair decisions.
Thank you. Jamie, same question.
Justice is blind, and so am I. I don't care what your religious beliefs are, what your political affiliation is, where you come from, how much money you have, or who you are. Everyone's treated exactly the same way in my court and in my everyday interactions. In my court, I'm one of the only district judges that has actually organized and put out court rules and procedures. I put out court rules and procedures so everyone understands that they are going to be treated exactly the same way, no matter who they are or where they come from. It's the fair application of the law, and that's what justice is, and that's what you could expect from Judge Jamie Levy.
Okay, thank you. Kelly, impartiality.
It's one of my elements of my judicial philosophy, so I strongly believe in it. Any person that comes before the court deserves a voice. As an attorney, I appreciated the opportunity to be an advocate for those people, and people that don't have attorneys could advocate for themselves to the best that they could. As a judge, I will make sure that people have an opportunity to advocate for their clients or themselves, no matter their race, their socioeconomic status. And as a prosecutor, I believed that everyone deserved an opportunity to say their part, whether it's the police officers, the victims, the defendants, the opposing counsel, and it's important that people have the opportunity to be heard and a judge to listen impartially. Excuse me.
Okay, thank you. Alex, same question.
Yeah. When having the opportunity to either interview someone or listen to somebody kind of as an assistant district attorney, and when you're handling those types of cases, it doesn't matter who the witness is. You're judging them by what their character is, who, as they're speaking, and you get to judge and figure out whether or not they're credible or not, and that you treat everybody the same way without any bias or preconception of who they are, and just listen carefully and cautiously of what they're presenting in their case. And if you treat everybody on that equal base and not put anybody higher or lower and make those important decisions, it's going to come out a fair result.
Okay, thank you. And Patrick.
Thank you. I hold the court in the highest regard, and impartiality is its cornerstone. The way to be impartial, to me, is really simple. We follow the law. If you follow the law as it is written, you will be impartial. The law is written in a way where you should be impartial if you read it and apply it correctly. I can't be much simpler than that. I will read the law, I will follow the law as written, and I'll be fair to the litigants who appear before me.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Jamie, you'll start with the next question. Being a judge in the Court of Common Pleas is an important position. Do you believe there should be an IQ test or some other testing to determine if a candidate is intellectually qualified to be a judge?
Thank you, George. And that's a very interesting question. And it leads to a lot of subjective findings. I think the truest test of whether or not a person is qualified to be a judge on the Court of Common Pleas is your ability to vote, as we're all going to do on May 20th. These open forums provide a good basis for an understanding of what type of judge you can anticipate and can expect. The law designates certain qualifications already. We all have to be practicing attorneys or have our Juris Doctorate, and we all do, which is the only qualification aside from a residency qualification. We all have to live here, and we all do. Other than that, when you add on qualifications, you're excluding certain people and certain members, and it becomes more subjective. So the best way to figure out who you want is to listen to what they have to say and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie, they're telling me if you get a little closer to your microphone that we won't have that feedback. Kelly, same question.
I don't believe an IQ test is the appropriate form of measure to see if a judge is appropriate or a candidate's appropriate to be a judge. I think you have to look at their experience, and it has to be well-rounded experience. We're all attorneys. We all pass the bar, or we could not practice. But it's the experience that you have, especially for a judge, in and out of the courtroom. And my experience, 2 years as a law clerk, so I have seen from behind the bench and in chambers how to run a courtroom, how to research and write opinions, how to interact. As a prosecutor, I have had thousands of hours of courtroom experience trying my own cases, picking my own juries. And as a civil litigant, I've interacted with people, and I go before the court on really important matters for our older adults and our children who need someone to step in and help them. So it's not IQ, it's experience. It's how much effort you put into it, and to make a difference, you really have to have tried every single aspect of the law. And I think I bring that to the table.
Thank you. Alex, same question. Do you believe there should be an IQ test or some other testing for a candidate to run for judge?
An IQ test specifically, no. I'm definitely in agreement that we as candidates have already passed the bar exams. We've probably some of us have multiple types of degrees that we've proven ourselves, academically to a high degree. To have a specific IQ test to be a judicial candidate doesn't make a lot of sense, and at least for what we have done already in the past, and to just have to do something else and put another hurdle before doing it doesn't make a lot of sense. The experience is an absolute great additional aspect to consider, and I think the candidates are all very experienced and well qualified.
Thank you. Patrick, same question.
Yes, I don't believe that there's any real test that can capture what it truly takes to be a good judge. And everyone here has mentioned experience. Certainly experience matters. It's part of it, for sure. But the only real way to see what someone would be like as a judge is to see them in action, whether it be in litigating against them or with them, or seeing them as a hearing officer or some other position where you would ask them to render those decisions, see what they do when they have those proceedings. I've done that, and my peers are supporting me, my colleagues are supporting me, and that's because of the way that I've handled myself over the years in those roles. So I think that that's a much better indicator than a test would be.
Okay, thank you. And Janet.
I guess I'll have to make it unanimous that an IQ test maybe isn't the right way to make a determination as to who should be a judge. But we who practice law and are in courtrooms all the time know that there are judges who are patient and treat every single person who comes before them, no matter whether they're in chains when they come into the courtroom or whether they're in, their best Brooks Brothers suit. If they're treated fairly and with dignity, you've got the right kind of judge. And experience is the best teacher. It's also what shows us who has done this job and who's done it well. I'm the only candidate who has tried a death penalty case. There are specific requirements to try that type of case, and I've met them all, including trying lots of serious felony cases before I tried that case. But I've also had vast civil law experience as well. And that's why I'm
Thank you.
the right candidate.
All right, we'll move on to our next question. Since we all talked about experience, why don't we move on to qualifications and experience? And what specific qualifications and experiences make you the best candidate for this position? Starting with Kelly.
Started my career as a law clerk for 2 years, and as I said earlier, I got to see the perspective from behind the bench. I attended every single hearing, every court appearance, every jury selection, and so I got a feel for what a courtroom looks like and how to interact from a judge's perspective. I was then asked to join the district attorney's office, and I worked for several years, actually in the courtroom trying my own cases. I've had hundreds of cases, thousands of hours of courtroom experience, anywhere from DUIs all the way to homicide cases. I then changed gears to do civil law. I work with Lori Serrato in our elder law firm, and I focus not just on estate planning and estate administration, but also protecting our older clients and children with special needs in guardianship proceedings. I'm also the solicitor for the Monroe County Area Agency on Aging, where I advocate for our older adults who are victim of exploitation, financial, and neglect.
Time. Thank you. Alex, same question.
I started out my law career primarily as a solo practitioner doing criminal defense and family law. I expanded my practice into some municipal law while I was still solo starting out. I gone into intellectual property law. I'm also a registered patent attorney. So I've been doing trademarks, patents, and now I've gone into working as an assistant district attorney down in Northampton County, becoming the chief of the appellate unit, doing appeals. I do a lot of research and writing. I've also clerked for the Monroe Court of Common Pleas for Judge Mark, and getting the experience that way and seeing the ins and outs of how this court actually operates. I'm now a civil litigator with Newman Williams, concentrating in primarily civil litigation and
time. Thank you. Qualifications, Patrick.
Thank you. I also started my career as a law clerk, where I got to study and work with the judge to see exactly what it takes to be a judge, writing decisions, orders, conducting trials. After that, I have practiced as a private lawyer, doing pretty much everything that you would see in the Court of Common Pleas, from criminal to civil to family to estate and even complex class action cases. Over the last 9 or so years, I have been a hearing officer in the Court of Common Pleas, where I've issued written decisions, managed a docket, and conducted trials. And most recently, worked with the Monroe County District Attorney, Michael Mancuso, to start the Consumer Protection Division at the District Attorney's Office, where we've now worked on behalf of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to fight fraud and abuse. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Janet?
I also started as a law clerk, and I agree that it was a great opportunity to see things happening in a courtroom and also to write and hone my research skills that I learned in law school. I then moved to Monroe County and started as the first full-time assistant public defender, tried every kind of case, including every kind of misdemeanor and felony cases, including homicide cases. And then I went into private practice with Dominic Lockwood and handled all sorts of injury cases, custody cases, family law. I served on many arbitration panels, and over the years I've gotten to be the senior person on arbitration panels. I've done a lot of things that both teach me to watch judges and to actually be a judge, and I'm ready to do that.
Thank you. And Jamie.
Thank you, George. I've been a trial attorney for over 20 years, fighting for my clients to try to get them the justice they deserve. As a district court judge, I have a wide range of judicial responsibilities, including issuing bench warrants. I do arraignments for criminal defendants that are brought before me. I preside over summary trials on civil matters, on landlord-tenant disputes, on zoning law issues. I preside over preliminary hearings for criminal cases that range from traffic offenses or retail thefts to aggravated assaults and murder. I also issue protection from abuse orders. Every 9 weeks, I'm the only judge in the county presiding over everything, which overlaps with the Court of Common Pleas. I'm the only candidate with any judicial experience, any judicial training. I go to Harrisburg often for judicial training, and I'm ready to go.
Time. Thank you. For those just tuning in at home, you're watching the Monroe County Court of Common Pleas Candidates Forum. We're coming to you live from East Stroudsburg University. And we are going to continue on with our next question. This one has to, the topic has to deal with equality and inclusion. How will you ensure equality and fairness for people of all backgrounds in your courtroom? Alex, we'll start with you.
I think most importantly, just treat everybody the same. It doesn't matter what the background is of where the person's coming from. It's just keeping everybody on an equal basis, on equal footing, starting out. The term of treating everybody with dignity. It doesn't matter where they come from. You're going to hear them, and they're going to have an equal voice. And you're going to take into consideration what they have to say and give that due weight to it. Nothing's going to change, and you don't treat anybody different whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. Patrick.
I mentioned earlier that one of the biggest things that we would have to do is just follow the law. If you follow the law, generally it is easy to treat litigants fairly. But I think when answering this question, it's important to consider that some of the issues with equality in court doesn't have to do with things like race or religion or things that you would normally think about, but access to lawyers. The reality is that without lawyers, you are significantly underrepresented, and it is difficult to put your case forward. As the board of directors of the Bar Association and now its current vice president, I have worked very hard to provide the community with access to lawyers, whether they be low-cost lawyers or free lawyers where possible, to make sure that we do have equal access to justice under the law. Thank you.
Thanks. Janet.
Equal access to justice under the law are nice words that we all certainly move toward, but there are many people in court every day who don't have equal access, perhaps because they don't speak the language. Certainly they have an interpreter and they have a right to an interpreter, but they also have the right to have a judge who's patient and allows the amount of time, and it's a great deal more time to have a trial where there's an interpreter for every witness. And it's very difficult for people who don't speak English to be judged on their credibility while the interpreter is interpreting for them. We will do everything that we can, and there are rules that help, but recognizing that people who don't have any money and are not represented by quality counsel often don't get justice. We're fortunate that our public defender's office has excellent lawyers.
Time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jamie.
Equality and inclusion, we need to educate, inform, and provide services. And that's, maybe I'm too close, sorry. We need to, I get litigants coming into my courtroom and they're scared, they're petrified. I get witnesses that don't understand the process, don't understand the procedure, and there's a stigma involved with court being that it's a very traumatic experience that they don't understand and they're scared. I get people who are literally shivering and crying, and then I take the time, I educate them as to the process, I inform them as to what their rights and their options are, I provide them with whatever services they need, be it a public defender or an interpreter, so this way they are included in the process in a fair and just manner, and they are able to access their rights just like everyone else, and they have equality under the law.
Thank you. Kelly.
Going last, it's hard not to touch on the same things that the other candidates have said. Where I see it in my practice is inclusion with people with disabilities. And it's unfortunate that we have to talk about this, but it's true. There's a stigma against certain people, whether it's race or class or language barriers, but in my case, disability. Everyone deserves an equal opportunity to be heard and to be represented, because everyone deserves their day in court. And we have to make sure, especially as a judge, that you recognize those issues and that we have a solution for them, making sure you take the time to listen and be compassionate to make sure that they have the right attorney, that they're being heard, that it's understood if it's a language or a disability.
Okay.
I think you also have to have a little patience and some kindness.
All righty. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our next topic. This has to deal with special courts. What is your opinion of special courts, such as veterans courts and drug courts? We'll start with Patrick.
Yes, this has actually been a big part of what we've been talking about on the campaign. I'm a big proponent of special courts. Special courts allow us to treat individualized circumstances the way that they should be treated. It also helps people get the help that they need. Veterans deserve their own court. They serve the country. We can do something for them as simple as establishing a veterans court to make sure that they get the help, the services that they need. The same goes for mental health court. The same goes for drug court. It is easier, it is better for society if we work together to solve problems rather than try to incarcerate every single person who comes into court. So as far as specialty courts are concerned, I'm in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Janet, same question.
I agree completely with Patrick. I'm involved with the Criminal Justice Advisory Board, and at today's meeting, they reported that we, Monroe County, are the only fourth-class county in the state that does not have any specialty courts. No DUI court, no veterans court, no mental health court, no drug treatment court. That doesn't mean we don't provide services to people with those types of problems, but we're not spending the kind of time that's necessary to give a veteran a special look when perhaps the thing that caused the crime is the same thing he served this country doing. Sometimes post-traumatic stress disorder leads to drug abuse and leads to crimes that may not have ever happened if the person had never served. They deserve credit. I've been working with Valor, doing some volunteer work with them. They're very much in favor of a veterans court, and we should have one.
Time. Thank you. Jamie, same question.
We all are fully aware that we have a opioid problem in our county. We have a mental health issue in our county, and we don't provide enough services for our veterans. I don't think you're going to find anyone that disagrees with that. I wholeheartedly agree in specialized courts because we're not addressing the issues, the underlying problems, by incarcerating everyone. We need these courts to provide services to people with drug addiction, with mental health issues, and to give our veterans the services that they need so that we are not only holding them accountable, but we're getting them the services they need so that to prevent recidivism, so that we don't have a revolving door in our prison system where we're not just locking people up, waiting for them to act again and doing it again. So I'm 100% behind any diversion program that would meet the issues of our county.
Thank you. Kelly, same question.
I'm absolutely a proponent of specialized courts because they've affected me personally. I have family members and friends who have been victimized by drug abuse, and Monroe County wasn't where they got their services. They actually had to move to Florida so that they could seek the treatment that they needed to escape criminal prosecution here. Mental health the same way. I have family members that could benefit from more in-depth services here in Monroe County. I also think we need a guardianship court. When a court appoints a guardian, sometimes it's not a family member, and even if it is, that family member needs to be held responsible and be overseen by the court to make sure that they are acting on behalf of that older adult in their best interest. We're using the court system to monitor that, but if we had a specialized court, we could take that burden away from a judge and put it and have some more independent overseeing of what these people are doing for their loved ones to make sure that everyone is being taken care of.
Thank you. And Alex.
I'm absolutely in favor of the special courts. As an assistant district attorney, I assessed my caseload and the defendants in the cases that I was assigned, which were primarily white-collar and narcotics cases, for those types of issues, and would recommend those defendants for the drug court or the mental health court that Northampton both has. And the one proponent I'm definitely 100% behind is the Veterans Court. I've seen that in action. I work with my uncle, who's a social worker for the Veterans Affairs, assisting him with his veterans that he tries to get through the court's legal system for their issues that they arise, and it is service-related. And so we need something that recognizes that that certain crimes are happen and occur through veterans because of what they've experienced.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next question has to do with decisions. How do you see yourself balancing compassion versus justice when making decisions in the courtroom? And Janet, we'll start with you.
Well, as Kelly mentioned, I'm also a mother, and I also view what's happening in the courtroom from the standpoint of, is this person a person who's a threat to my children, to other people's children, and what can we do to stop, as Judge Levy mentioned, the revolving door? I'm serving on the Criminal Justice Advisory Board's re-entry program, where we're trying to make sure that people who leave prison leave with some services and some supervision to make sure that they don't continue to commit the same crimes. Most of our criminal system in Monroe County is jammed with multiple offense DUI cases. It's the biggest danger to our community is the number of people with multiple DUI offenses and high blood alcohol levels, and we need to enforce those laws fully, and we're not really doing it right now.
Thank you. Jamie.
There's a jury charge that judges charge juries during jury trials. It's essentially that they should avoid sympathy. With sympathy clouds judgment. And I think it's important that judges are compassionate but not sympathetic. They could be compassionate and understanding, but they still have to hold people accountable for what they've done and their transgressions. And that's why we tell jurors to exclude sympathy. I think judges have to exclude sympathy too. You could be compassionate and understanding, and you could listen, and you could try to address their problems and their issues and their concerns, but you can't be clouded because sometimes people try to get away with things, and sometimes people need to be held accountable. So I think that it's important to be compassionate and understanding, but to not be taken advantage of. And that's why you need to be firm, and you need to pull your faith in the law and interpret the law accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly.
One thing that I prided myself on as a prosecutor was the ability to put myself in the shoes of all the parties. It's important to, yes, have compassion, be kind, listen, be respectful. But you also have to feel, what will this decision do to the victims of that case? How would the defendant feel if he was convicted of this crime? What does that do to his families? What does that do to my family if I'm not letting or letting someone in the community go free because of a heinous crime? You have to take all of that into consideration. What would the police feel, and are we upholding justice? So yes, I believe compassion is important. People are scared when they come to court, and they need a friendly face and someone who will explain to them why they are there, but we have to be firm. We have to make sure that we are doing what's best for our community and keeping it safe.
Thank you. Alex.
The legal system is kind of like a mixed bag of taking into the human factors that everybody presents and brings into the courtroom when they're presenting their case or getting judged in regards to like criminal aspects of it. And the judges have to really take all the information, the whole big picture into consideration when making their decisions and how to effectively interpret the law to apply it to this particular case or this particular defendant or litigant. And by doing that, it's just a matter of your personal feelings can't affect what you do when you're enforcing the law, but you can still use the human factor to make the situation not so terrible for those people.
Time. Thank you. Patrick.
I think the argument about compassion versus justice is basically like the eternal battle in court. This question lends itself to criminal law, and we've talked a little bit about specialty courts and helping people and things of that nature, and sure, a lot of that would help. If we are working to help people and give them the services that they need, that is compassion. But I don't want it to be ignored that this question can also be answered in the context of family law. As I've practiced in family law for over 15 years, and there's no area of law in the Court of Common Pleas that needs compassion more than family law. You are dealing with families who are breaking apart, and I've done it for 15 years, and I've worked with these families. So really what it comes down to is having done it, having experienced it, and then making sure that you could do your best as a judge, and that's what I would do.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our next question. This one has to deal with handling conflicts. How will you address conflicts of interest or ethical dilemmas that may arise during your tenure? And we'll start with Jamie.
Well, the rules of judicial conduct are clear. If a judge feels that they cannot be fair, they could either disqualify themselves or recuse themselves. As a district court judge, I have done that on 2 occasions. One of the occasions, I was a first responding EMT on a homicide in my district. And when that case came before me as a judge to sign the complaint against the perpetrator or the alleged perpetrator, I recused myself, disqualified myself because I was actually there at the scene, and I felt that I could not competently and fairly judge that matter. So the rules are clear about that, and it's very easy to do that, and it should be done on a more regular basis when there's any hint of conflict whatsoever, because there are other judges. There are 9 magisterial district judges in the county, and once I recused myself, one of the other judges stepped into those shoes and made those determinations.
Okay, thank you. Kelly.
I believe all you have is your character. And so if in your heart you feel that there's a conflict, if there's truly a conflict, or something doesn't feel right, you need to stand up and make sure that you are upholding the law. And so if that means that you have to recuse yourself from that so that there's not any chance of impropriety, you do that, because you are your character. You have to be the one that looks in the mirror and says, I did the right thing in this case. And so I vow to always keep my character and make sure that in my heart of hearts, I know that I'm acting fairly and impartially. And if there's any chance of bias or ethical considerations or conflicts of interest, that I can recognize them and make sure that we act appropriately.
Thank you. Alex.
I 100% agree with what Kelly's pretty much saying. ethical consistency is non-negotiable. You can't have any even hint of bias or impropriety when you're making decisions, or present or anybody have that perception that you're making that decision based upon some sort of bias. If there's any perception of that whatsoever, it's okay to recuse yourself. You don't have to hear every case. As Jamie said, there's other judges that can do things and help you out. But that's where I firmly stand is being highly ethical, maintaining your integrity, and have no question of what your integrity is.
Thank you. Patrick.
Thank you. To be honest, this one's fairly easy. I don't think that there's any judge that we have sitting now or anyone at this table that would take a case that they shouldn't take. The reality is that there are going to be 7 judges in the Court of Common Pleas. There is no reason that another judge can't handle a case if you can't do it. And I think that avoiding impropriety is paramount because it preserves the sanctity of the system. If people can't trust the system, then the system falls apart. So I don't think that that's actually truly an issue. That being said, it's really easy just to ask, first off, if you know you have a reason, you simply recuse yourself. But if you feel that there could be even some minor perception, you can always ask the litigants, would you like me to recuse myself? Here's a potential conflict. I'm pointing it out to you. If you want me to recuse, I will. I'll go grab another judge. This is really easy, and it's not complicated, and there should never be an issue with a conflict of interest as a judge.
Okay, thank you. And Janet.
As a lawyer, I've frequently had issues raised where the judge raised the issue themselves and said, this is not an appropriate case for me. I previously served on a board with another, one of the litigants. And lawyers tend to be people that are doing a lot of good things in our community and come in contact with a lot of people. And sometimes you have a close relationship with someone, and the right thing to do is to let another judge decide the case. And while I agree with Patrick that judges also sometimes just say, well, here's what might be a conflict. What do you think? Are you going to would you like me to recuse myself? Sometimes lawyers don't feel comfortable asking a judge in a small community like this to recuse themselves, like it's somehow a suggestion that they're not going to be fair. So sometimes it's just the right thing to do for the judge to raise it, and that's what I intend to do when I'm a judge.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have, let's see, we have time for one more question. I believe we're going to move to justice system improvements. What changes do you believe are necessary in the justice system? And we start with Kelly.
I think we've touched on this. I think there's a vast need for specialized courts, particularly here in Monroe County. You have to be able to help every single person, and the justice system is not cookie cutter. It's not the same for everyone. So I think we really have to look in our specific demographic. What could we do to benefit Monroe County? Because that's where we are, and that's who we are compassionate about. So I am a proponent of those specialized courts and making sure that cases can be heard quickly and that judges are responsible and moving things quickly through the court system so that we're not delaying, especially for criminal trials, for people.
Okay, thank you. Alex, same question. What changes do you believe are necessary in the justice system?
I think the changes for the courts, our justice system is the expediting the criminal justice system, getting from the preliminary hearing into a formal arraignment and even to a potential trial within a timely fashion. It just seems like those things are taking way too long. The preliminary hearings are supposed to be within a certain time frame, and they're getting postponed unnecessarily. The formal arraignments are 3 months out from the preliminary hearings, and of course the trials are even farther out. You got trials that are happening 2 years down the road that the offense was 2 years prior, and now you're searching for witnesses and evidence, and we need to get that more streamlined.
Okay, thank you. Patrick, same question.
Thank you. We did talk about specialty courts. I do agree that those would be an excellent way to approach this, but since we talked about those, I won't belabor that point. I do think that improving access to justice. Access to lawyers is a big part of this. The justice system will improve if people have access to lawyers. We should be providing lawyers every opportunity we can, even where people can't afford them, and even in civil cases. The public defenders are great. They handle criminal cases. People don't realize that you don't get a lawyer for free in a civil case. Perhaps you should. But the other thing that I'll point out that we do offer, but is not really underutilized, the Bar Association has an alternative dispute resolution program, and we've been working to improve it. I think if the court worked a little bit more hand in hand on alternative dispute resolution, we could speed things up, we could make things easier, and we could make it a little bit more amicable to settle some of these cases early. So that would be a big change that I'd like to make.
Okay, thank you. Janet?
Over the years that I've been practicing in Monroe County, I think that one of the things that's happened is that there's been a bit of a breakdown of communication between the bench and the bar, and there's a lot of griping. People are unhappy about the way that the criminal court schedules have been being handled. I think that we used to have a pretty active criminal rules committee, and I was part of that, and that sort of has broken down. I'm not sure exactly why, but I think that there could be an improvement in that. And I think that the fact that we don't pay people particularly well for the most important jobs we have in the court system is a real problem. We lose a lot of really good prosecutors and a lot of good defense attorneys because they're not being paid a wage that allows them to live in Monroe County. So that's improvements I can see. And the sheriffs are in the same boat, unable to get people to work in the sheriff's department because they don't pay competitively to the surrounding counties.
Thank you. And Jamie, same question. What changes do you believe are necessary in the justice system?
I agree with everyone with regard to the specialty court, and I also agree about the open, greater access to people, but I believe that the main way we could improve our justice system everywhere, including this county, is by education. We need to remove the stigma, and we need to remove the fear associated with the unknown that is our judicial system. People don't understand their rights. They don't understand the process. We need to educate them. That's why we, in our county, Judge Mark and the commissioners are holding a community day, which allows people to come down to see what kind of services are available and how the court system could help them. It's those sort of educational forums, those sort of educational programs that take away the fear associated with our justice system, instill the integrity of our institution, and give everybody equal access to their rights and how to use them.
Thank you. Candidates, you have made it through the question portion of the forum. And we want to thank you for answering the questions tonight. And so we are going to move on to closing statements, and you'll each have 1 minute to give your closing statement to the viewing public and the people here in the audience. And we're going to start closing statements. You'll have 1 minute. Alex, we'll start with you.
Well, thank you. It's been an interesting experience doing this judicial forum and actually just running this campaign in general. But one thing I always kind of encourage with these aspects of these forums that I encourage everybody to continue doing the due diligence and research on the candidates. These 1 minute explanations and questions and answers, it's not enough to get to know us, get to know who we are, what our character is, and, what we actually really, represent and who, what we can do for you as judges on the bench. So I would encourage everyone to continue doing the research, and just thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Patrick, you're next.
Thank you again to the Pocono Chamber, ESU, TV 13, and everyone who tuned in tonight. I'm truly grateful to my family, my campaign team, my colleagues, and every neighbor who's offered encouragement throughout the race. There are 5 candidates running, and on May 20th, you can vote for 2. When you cast your ballot, I hope you'll consider what kind of judge Monroe County needs. Someone who brings real courtroom experience, commitment to fairness, and a deep respect for the law and the people that it serves. I've worked as a prosecutor, a hearing officer, and an advocate. I've made tough calls, and I've done it with integrity. If you believe our courts should reflect the best of our community, I would be honored to earn your support. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And Janet.
I've been an attorney here for more than 35 years. I'm not newly appointed to any job. Everything that I've been doing for a very long time. I have always approached the job of being a lawyer with trying to treat people the way I would want someone in my family to be treated if they were in the circumstance that my client finds themselves in. And that's what I will do as a judge. I will treat people the way I would want to be treated if I were being judged. But I will be tough because some of the things that people are doing require a tough decision, and I'm ready to make those. I hope that you'll consider me, and I hope you'll vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie.
Thank you, George. This is the bottom line. All the candidates agree. Experience matters. All of us sitting at this table are attorneys with a wide range of legal experience. I'm the only candidate with any judicial experience. And why is that important? Two of our most senior, our most experienced judges are retiring, creating these 2 open seats that we're going for. We need a judge with experience to hit the ground running on day one. I am that judge. I am Jamie Levy. I'm running to be a judge on the Court of Common Pleas. I thank you for your consideration. I thank you for your support, and I thank you for your vote. If you want to learn more about me, please visit my website, judgejamielevy.com. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kelly.
Last but not least, close your eyes. Imagine you had to appear before a judge in court because you're there fighting for your freedom or custody of your child. What kind of judge do you want to appear before? I know I want a judge who is going to be honest and trustworthy, who's going to listen to my case and decide based upon the law and not based upon politics or any other bias. This is where integrity, experience, and compassion come into play. You need someone who is respectful and honest and fair, so that's integrity. Someone who has knowledge from all sides of the bench, that's experience. And someone who is kind and respectful, that's compassion. I'm that person, and I respectfully ask for your vote on May 20th. I'm Kelly Lombardo, and please do your research. Get to know us. Check out our websites and our Facebook.
Thank you,
and
Kelly.
take the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. These are the 5 candidates cross-filed for 2 open judges' seats in Monroe County. Once again, Patrick Best from Stroud Township. We have Janet Jackson from Stroudsburg Borough, Jamie Levy from Delaware Water Gap Borough, Kelly Lombardo from Jackson Township, and Alexander Merrick from Hamilton Township. I'd like to thank the Pocono Chamber of Commerce and, of course, East Stroudsburg University for allowing us to do this forum here live for you on TV 13. And we encourage everyone, big reminder, primary election day is May 20th. Please get out and vote. Thank you, candidates, for being with us tonight. And now we can applaud, and thank you so much. Have a good night.